So Melvin's just managed to see one of the dogs chasing either an impala or a nyala. So we've got to try and get ourselves down there, hopefully just in time to see some of the action happen. Hopefully they're not too far down here, and we're expecting to come around the corner and bump into them at any stage now. So we just had a little stroke of luck where we bumped into the pack of wild dogs. They were just coming trotting along down here. They're all now milling about in some of the thicker vegetation here. We can only see the adults, so I'm sure they must have left the pups somewhere back in that direction, and I know everybody's driving around trying to find the dogs. It's been a huge amount of excitement having them on the property over the last few days, after having initially found them up on the northern boundary a couple of days ago, to now have them coming right down, and we're pretty much smack bang in the middle of Londolozi at the moment. But it appears as though these adults are setting off on an afternoon hunt, so we hope that now they're not going to go that way, because beyond in that direction is a very steep drainage, one of the tributaries into the Mashabane, which we won't be able to cross through, and the block beyond it is an incredibly thick, difficult to traverse block. So we're hoping that they bend off this way, because there's some very large clearings in that direction where there's often large herds of impala, and that will be much easier and more suitable for us to follow them. But then again, we don't make these calls out here, so let's just see where they go. So I think I might have jinxed that. We just had a last view of the wild dogs going through into that treacherous block that I just mentioned. So we're just going to sit here for now in case they do bend back. But some of the other rangers have looped around to see if they pop out on the other side. Right, so Melvin has just managed to see one of the dogs, very highly mobile. So Melvin's just managed to see one of the dogs chasing either an impala or a nyala, running through the thicket towards the Mashabane River. So we've got to try and get ourselves down there, hopefully just in time to see some of the action happen. So when wild dogs are chasing, they can reach some incredible speeds, so we're trying to get across there as quickly as we possibly can to hopefully see some of the action going down before any of the potential scavengers such as hyenas get in there and steal the kill from the wild dogs. So let's see, hopefully they're not too far down here, and we're expecting to come around the corner and bump into them at any stage now. So you see now with them all feeding and trying to move around, they're coming pretty close to the vehicle here. Good vultures pouring out of the sky, and that is likely to attract any other predators into the area. So you see the dogs are all trying to feed pretty quickly. Every now and then one of them goes running off just to have a look if any danger is arriving. If something does turn up here, these dogs are just going to bombshell. If it's a lone hyena, they'll probably try and chase it off, but they don't want to get caught in a sticky situation where the chances of one of them being killed is quite high. So they're highly alert, phenomenal hearing, brilliant sense of eyesight. So see, there goes one of the dogs to go and look if there's any danger arriving. You got the vultures rocking up in the trees here. But it looks like all of these dogs' bellies are pretty full, so they've got a decent feed out of this, and their pups won't go hungry tonight. So ecstatic to be part of it, but pretty gruesome, brutal affair this. So you can see now, it's just the 3 dogs feeding. Hardly anything left here, just a couple of bones, some skin, bit of the sinew. So I'm guessing the ones that have finished feeding are heading back towards the pups. So let's try and get ourselves out of here and go and follow those dogs. We've just seen a tawny eagle and a bataleur land in a tree just up ahead of us, and they are both scavenging birds at times and can be seen to follow or spend some time around wild dogs. So let's get in there and see, there's a good chance that that's where the pups are. It's pretty awesome to see the entire process unfolding, from the adults moving around, hunting, successfully chasing down and catching something, feeding and gorging themselves as quickly as they possibly can, before then turning around and returning back to where the pups were left. And so we were pretty uncertain as to exactly where they had left the pups, because when we initially found them, they were just moving along as though they were beginning their hunt. And it was only by then stumbling across the tawny eagle and bateleur in the tree that then sort of indicated to us exactly where the pups were, because seeing those two birds that are predatory birds that can also be scavengers sitting in a tree together only tells us one thing, and that is the wild dog pups were pretty close. So we drove in there and we found them after one of the adults having already returned and regurgitated, and so they were all milling about and playing, and it was only a matter of time before the rest of the adults then returned back and all regurgitated and fed these pups here. It's amazing to see all 19 of these pups cruising around, and they're just so playful and inquisitive and just charging around, having the best time with each other. But while we're sitting here and now watching this all unfold, it's got me thinking, where the adults have gorged themselves on today a pretty sizable meal such as that young male nyala, but how do they know when to cut off how much they regurgitate for these pups? Because yes, they need to ensure that the pups are well fed, but they also need to keep themselves satiated so that they have enough energy to move around and go on subsequent hunts from there. So I'm sure it's a bit of instinct that just tells them to only regurgitate some of it, or they probably only regurgitate small portions at a time. It's not exactly as though they're emptying their stomach to feed the pups. But also another thing I noticed was, while the adults were feeding, which was actually pretty close to my vehicle, I could see the alpha and beta female both had fairly swollen teats, and this also then gets me wondering, is she still nursing some of these pups? Because I guess having 19 pups around, the chances of all 19 of them getting a pretty decent meal from the adults regurgitating for them is quite slim. So I'm wondering that if they then are resting somewhere during the course of the evening or the day, does she supplement their diet with some milk through the teats? Or are those teats just still swollen from when they were suckling a good few weeks ago? But you would have thought that maybe if she had stopped suckling them completely, that would have then disappeared. But anyways, these are just ponderings that I've been having whilst we've been thinking about these wild dogs. The fact of the matter is, it's incredible to have 19 pups, 7 adults, all cruising around Londolozi, right smack bang in the middle. And so we are elated. We hope that they stick around and spend a bit more time here. But we're just going to have to follow them closely and see where they go from there. But if you've enjoyed this virtual safari, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got some more epic videos coming in the near future and you don't want to miss them. But thanks for watching. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, and we'll see you all again next week.